back to Drew Reviews. Guys, today we're going to talk about the sequel to the movie that was my most watched review on this channel to date, and that was Anaconda. Well, this is Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. So sit back and relax. Hope you enjoy this review, but we're going to get to it right now. So this movie was directed by Dwight H. Little, who you might know from a little movie called Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which is probably my second or third favorite Halloween sequel after 2 and maybe 3. Just a really good movie. He also did Rapid Fire. But a funny story about this movie. So after the surprise success of my Anaconda review, and I want to thank you guys so much for that. I made so many new friends in Brazil and India and the Philippines because of that video. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for all the love you've shown me for that. I was ready to do Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. But I couldn't find it anywhere locally on DVD, Entertain Mart, or wherever, and it was off Tubi, so I kept putting it off, and finally it came back on Tubi. Guys, this movie was a whole lot better than what I remembered it when I saw it back in the day, probably, 15 plus years ago. And to be honest, story-wise, I think I like it a little better than the original Anaconda movie. So we're going to get into the plot right now. Basically, you've got these researchers and scientists, and they think they've kind of found the fountain of youth, this flower, the blood orchid, that only grows every 7 years in the country of Borneo. And so they're going to get it while it's blooming, but of course they end up running into killer anacondas along the way. And there's infighting amongst everybody, and much like Anaconda, that's the plot to this one here. So right away, what I liked about this movie: in the first movie, the characters were so over the top with Ice Cube, and Jennifer Lopez was okay, but you get to Jon Voight's character. Oh my gosh, he was. If you watch that review, I laughed so many times about his performance, just how uneven it is, just the over the top way he played it. And yes, in this movie, you do have some characters who are over the top, like the character of Gale, who's constantly bitching about things, and the character of Cole. He's kind of the scared voice of the viewer in that movie. He's the Hudson of this movie. But I can deal with them a whole lot easier than I can a lot of those characters in the original Anaconda. But yeah, this movie as a whole was a lot of fun character-wise. I didn't think there was any just inherently bad acting. The setting of this movie was really good. They shot this in Fiji. It looked tropical. It looked really cool. I've always wanted to visit the South Pacific, so I enjoyed it. The music was really good for the most part in this thing. I really liked the locations that they shot on, so much more than the first Anaconda, where it seemed like they just kind of went down the river and came back. In this one, they actually go down. I do have kind of an issue with the one part. Johnny Messner plays the boatman, the captain in this thing, with his one mate. And the main antagonist in this movie, Jack, he ends up paying him an extra $50,000, even though the river's washed out, to keep going. And this guy's supposed to know the river, like the back of his hand, right? Well, he forgets all about this 100-foot waterfall. And to me, that was a major, plot device in this movie, and I kind of laughed at the thought of that. But I did like, for as bad as 2004 CGI was, I did appreciate the effect of them falling. Although I do think there probably should have been a casualty or two with that waterfall scene. And speaking of the character of Jack, played by Matthew Marsden, I really enjoyed him way more than I enjoyed Jon Voight in a different way. I did enjoy Jon Voight in that first, but I liked him and just how he was so idealistic in this movie, and he would do anything, sell anybody out to find this flower. But there were some pretty good action scenes in this movie, like the aforementioned waterfall scene, or like the whole scene where there's this spider that's cleverly set up earlier in the movie, that can poison and paralyze a person. And of course, Jack ends up getting Morris Chestnut's character Gordon with it, and then he ends up burning down that hut that Gordon's in. There's a great scene in this movie where the captain takes out a crocodile with a knife, John Rambo style. I thought that was great. And the look on the characters' faces when they see that, okay, we're in safe hands with this guy. Some decent action in this. And the Anacondas, of course, this was 7 years after the original. CGI had gotten a lot better, still not to what it is today, but I thought the Anacondas looked a lot better, especially whenever you've got that, I think the character of Cole called it like a snake orgy or whatever, down in that crevice. That was a really cool scene. I like the finale of this movie, how that was shot. As far as dislikes for this movie, and it's mainly nitpicks. This is supposed to be rainy season down in Borneo, and there's only like 2 or 3 scenes where there's actually rain, to supposedly have washed out this river. So, take that for what it was. I felt like there should have been more casualties in the waterfall scene. And then the big bugaboo I have with this movie is I felt like too many people survived. I think we had 4 survivors, and I felt like the captain and Sam probably should have lived in this movie. And, with character Cole lives, the character of Gale lives, and I wanted those characters to die. Especially the character of Cole. There's that scene earlier in the movie where they blow up on the anaconda. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then the anaconda grabs him. But then he comes back, and it was just too much for me. And a pretty funny story, the character of Sam, she's got this really thick southern drawl to her voice. And my wife's like, man, that's so fake. She's like, I don't buy that accent at all. And I actually looked up the actress on IMDb, and she's from Georgia. So it was authentic. It just wasn't carried out well. I did like the character. Sam's one of the more likable, in the first 2 movies that I've seen. But yeah, I thought her and the captain should have lived, and everybody else probably should have died. But that's minor. But guys, I really did enjoy The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, and to me, it's a better all-around film than the first. Yes, the first has the budget and the big name stars, but they're not given a whole lot to do. I really enjoyed these characters for the most part, Gale and Cole notwithstanding, and I think it's a better movie. I think I gave Anacondas a 5.5. I'm going to give this a 5.8. Let's go 5.9. I don't think it's quite a 6. Anaconda I might watch once every 5 or 10 years. This I would watch more frequently than that. And I did have a lot of fun with it. It's not a great movie. It is just kind of a B monster creature feature. But it was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I'm going to go 5.9 for Anacondas. And I think it's like a 4.7 on IMDb, which is it's just stupid. You got to be a terrible, terrible movie to be a 4.5. I think I gave that over on Warehouse B, a Macho Movie Madness, to Skyscraper with Anna Nicole Smith. So yeah, 4.7 is way too low. So be sure and check out this movie if you've not seen it in a while or haven't seen Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid at all. I would recommend it if you're in a mood for that cheesy kind of movie. It's well done in that regard. So guys, as always, thank you for watching. I'm going to try to throw in more creature features as we go along, like Lake Placid and things like that. Maybe some really bad ones, but we'll see what's up there. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. As always, I'm Andrew, and I'll see you down the line.